him on with a warm round of applause. D.A. Smart, y'all.
Brothers and sisters, we don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to be expedient as possible. Assalamu alaikum. My name is D.A. Smart. I got the theme song, the anthem for the Millions More movement. And since y'all was cooperative early, I'm going to need your help right now. I'm going to need you to say something. The hook goes something like this. It don't matter what set you on, what block, what city you rep from, what coast, anywhere in America, there's a movement that has begun. And when I say that, I need you to say, it's the Millions More movement. All right? Let's test it out. It don't matter what set you on, what block, what city you rep from, what coast, anywhere in America, there's a movement that has begun. It don't matter what church you love, what religion you consider you certain of. You a Muslim, Christian, etc. Time to put it all under one roof. It don't matter what class you from, middle class, upper class, lower class, or none. This time bring your wife, daughter, and son. It's a family reunion. It's the Millions More, headed up by Farrakhan and every organizing leader in your area. Joining hands because they seek and they care for us, showing strength and the power of one. That's what we gonna do, Norfolk State, is that right? Run that. And by the way, this CD is on sale. It's a whole album, brothers and sisters. Just $10. Support your brother. I'll be out there signing autographs for you if you like it. Run that. I can't hear it. It was 1995, October 16th, we set the fire. 1 million black men, we came alive, cause there's some things we need to get rectified. You could say it was a national call, simmered on Ruster's Mall. Brother, could you start it over and just turn it up? I can't hear it. There we go. Now start it over from number 2, one more time. One more time, real quick. I want to do it right for you, all right, Norfolk? All right, one more time. Here we go. Check it out, y'all. It's the Millions More movement. That's what time it is. No more marching. It's time for us to do something for ourselves, right? Check it out. Listen. It was 1995, October 16th, we set the fire. 1 million black men, we came alive. There's some things we need to get rectified. You can say it was a national call. I was peacefully assembled on Buster's Mall. But just from the million-man march, the spark in your heart with the charging all along. It's 1 million women, million moms, million youth, and 1 million family march, and 1 million reparations, and 1 million workers too. Even though we had a lot of marches, the condition of our people is not improving. A lot of our communities are worse than before. It ain't no time for a march. It's our movement. We need an ongoing, sustained, constant flow. A divinely inspired thing for the downtrodden, some of us that's poor. We need us a coalition that can go against the injustice, Joe. And if you claim you're a leader, be a leader. Every time the people see you, man, be on your post. It's time to take the minds of the best we find and unite them quickly. Otherwise, our lives we have will just demise in the plight of these enemies. So I'm blowing my trumpet loud to attract the crowd to let them know what the news is. October 14th to the 16th, being rushed for the Millions More movement. It don't matter what set you on, what block, what city you rep from, what coast, anywhere in America, there's a movement that has begun. It don't matter what church you love, what religion you consider you certain of. You a Muslim, Christian, etc. Time to put it all under one roof. It don't matter what class you from, middle class, upper class, lower class, and none. This time bring your wife, daughter, and son. It's a family reunion. Headed up by Farrakhan and every organizer leader in your area. Join hands to the seek and they clap for us. Show strength and the power of one. A lot of people be asking smart. Can you tell me what's the reason we were having a march? First of all, it's not a march, it's a movement, God. And the fact that it's a movement set it apart. From the Million Man March in 95 and plus, the spirit of the march is still alive in us. Still living hard in our dirty lives because we still feel we ought to wait for rights. We'll handle the solution to our problem when they're part of producing our problem. Can't see the solution to solve it. Hence we gon' have to solve this on our terms. problem of whites, problem of blacks. And the problem, we must take charge and solve it, because now responsibility is on our backs. It's a wonderful thing to think about a black male running in child and see. Because with that, we thought always to dream a king and do things from the bees won't believe they see it. We are the most beautiful people, as long as we are in tune as a people. Unity is all we need as a people, and overnight we have a freedom. It's the means for a movement, what's sexual. What city you come from? What cool city where in America? That's a movement that has begun. It's the means for a movement. It don't matter what church you love, or religion you consider you secular. You a Muslim, Christian, etc. Time to put it all under one roof. It's the means for a movement. It don't matter what class you're from, middle class, upper class, lower class, or none. It's time for you, right? Go ahead, son. It's a family reunion. It's the means for a movement. It ain't about Farrakhan and every organizer leader in your area. 20 years and they seek and they care for us. So scream for the power of one. It's the means for a movement. What? 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 Can't hear you. No, son. It's time. What? I can't hear you. It's time. I can't hear you. I'll let your brother. I'll be in the back signing autographs for whoever want to support positive rap. All right? Thank you for listening. Assalamu alaikum.
Brothers and sisters, without any further delay, let us hear from the man of God in our midst, the Spirit of Truth, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
Thank you. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, we give him praise and we give him thanks for his mercy and his goodness to the human family. That whenever any member of that family strays from his straight path and loses his divine favor, before he punishes, he always raises from the midst of the people a prophet or a messenger to whom he gives divine revelation. And by means of that revelation, he guides that people back to his path, to his favor. This is why, as Muslims, we thank God for all of his prophets, all of his messengers, no matter where they appeared on any part of the earth. We believe in them all, and we make no distinction between them. We believe in Moses and the Israelite prophets and the Torah or the Old Testament. We believe in Jesus and the Gospel or the New Testament. We believe in Muhammad and the Quran. Peace be upon these worthy servants of Almighty God, Allah. I am a student of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I could never thank Allah enough for his intervention in our affairs in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, who came among us 75 years ago and chose from among us one to lead, teach, and guide us and give us the scepter in that guidance of rulership. We thank him for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I greet all of you, my dear brothers and sisters, with the greeting words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language, Assalamu alaikum, but it means in English, peace be unto you. To Minister Michael Muhammad and the staff here at the mosque, I want to thank you and the local organizing committee leader, my brother here, thank you, and all the members of the committee, and to our distinguished dais guests, to my dear brother and friend, the Reverend Dr. Milton Reed, and to all of you, my brothers and sisters, and to you, the audience. I am more than honored, more than happy to be in your midst tonight in the city of Norfolk, Virginia, in this beautiful auditorium named after our former governor and now the mayor of Richmond, Virginia, Mayor Wilder. I'm honored to be your speaker tonight, and I have a simple message for all of us. I always come before an audience with no notes. It's not because I am careless, but it is because I like to do what my teacher told me. When I used to prepare a radio broadcast for a half hour, and it would take me a whole week measuring every word, weighing every word. And after 3 years of doing that, he said, brother, you don't need to do that. You just go and stand up and let God speak through you. I am particularly pleased to see the young brothers and sisters who are here tonight. I don't get a chance to come to black colleges because it appears that there are those who are afraid of the message that God has put in the mouths of the ministers of the Nation of Islam. And it disturbs me that if they believe they have taught you well, and if a college campus is a place where ideas are exposed and critical analysis of ideas begins, then what are they afraid of if they've taught you the truth? The scripture says, how can they know except they have a teacher? And how can they have a teacher except he be sent? And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us, any man who will not treat you right will never teach you right. And since our fathers set the soles of their feet in the Western Hemisphere 450 years ago, we have suffered 310 years of chattel slavery, where we were deprived of the human right to know. And it is knowledge that separates the human being from the beasts of the field. So any people that would deprive us of the human right to know are saying to us they are desirous of our being placed on the level of the beasts of the field. So they sold us as a piece of property. They branded us as they brand their horses, their cows, or their other livestock. And so when you do that to a people, not for a day, not for a week, not for a year, but for 3 centuries, then you put those people in a dehumanized state. And any white person who dared to teach us how to read was punished severely, because right in this state, in the Virginia House of Delegates, there was one of the members of that House of Delegates who said, "We have closed every avenue by which light will enter the mind of the slaves. And if we can keep light or knowledge away from the slaves, they will perpetually be our slaves." So you must remember this and never forget that for 300 years in chattel slavery, they locked the Bible. It was forbidden for us to learn to read, forbidden to us to read the Bible. And then in the late 1700s, they thought it was not incompatible that we be Christians and slaves at the same time. This is true. So naturally, as we went to church, we had a segregated church off in the fields, and they were busy singing hymns in their church. And so some of our fathers, trying to get a message over to us, would write songs like, "Everybody talking about heaven ain't going there, heaven, heaven." They were talking about heaven, but our folk were saying, "Damn, if they are there, I don't want to be where they are." Our folk would put song words in spirituals. Steal away. Can't just run away, walk away, but maybe you could just steal away. Steal away to Zion. I ain't got long to stay here. My God, he calls me. He calls me by the thunder. I hear him call deep within my soul. I ain't got long to stay here, because this is a deep river. My home is over Jordan. See? Now look at what your fathers were saying. They wouldn't allow us to play the drum. They said, no, take the drum away. Because them Negroes is giving each other messages. It may be a revolt soon. So we couldn't play the drum no more. When our fathers first landed here, as you read in Roots by Alex Haley, many of our first fathers were Muslims. And they believed in Allah. They read the Quran. They followed Prophet Muhammad. And they spoke Arabic. And if you study African history, you'll find the Ghana Empire, the Songhai Empire, the great centers of learning at Timbuktu. They were by your fathers, ancient black men. And if you ever go to Mali in Africa and they take you to Timbuktu, you will see in their archives or in their libraries ancient writings of black men hundreds of years, thousands of years ago, I mean with great wisdom. So you didn't fall out of no tree in Africa. You were a wise people because they could not build America with some dummies. And you have to remember that when they brought our fathers to America, we're the ones that built the great mansions in the South. We are the ones that taught the white woman how to cook. We are the ones that sewed her garments. Yes, you were not no jungle bunnies. So some of our early fathers who spoke Arabic, they would pray aloud because they separated the children from the parents. So the parents would cry out at time of prayer, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. That means God is great. And any of the children that would hear the words in Arabic of their parents, they would learn some of the language. So the slave master would go among the slaves to see which one of you heard, which one of you recorded it, which one of you, meaning recorded it here, which one of you could speak it, and anyone that said the name Allah, anyone that said Islam, they killed them. So when they killed them, you couldn't hear nobody pray. See, they stopped praying because praying and you catching it mean you die. The same thing is done today on the plantation. They walk right among you, see which one of you is enlightened, which one of you is standing up, which one of you is showing signs of sullen and dissatisfaction, and then they try to pull that one out and make an example of that one and call that one a troublemaker. When they made us Christians, it wasn't their desire to make us righteous. It wasn't their desire to really bring us closer to Jesus. It was their desire to make us a better tool of slavery using religion. Now, this is why they taught us that heaven, there it is. But unfortunately, we have the Hubble telescope, and we see stars thousands of light years away. We ain't seen heaven yet, but the streets are gold. But gold comes from the earth. How did it get up there? Well, don't worry about that part. So we all looking up. You know, the game is being played. You know, see, it's called deception. See, while you looking up, they taking down. So Negro, keep looking up. And then when your folks die, they don't come back to tell you how sweet it is on the other side. So they already know they ain't coming back to tell you nothing. But don't worry, if you be a bad Negro, you going to hell. Now where's that? Oh, that's down here. See, down. Well, wait a minute. If it's down there with a fire 100 times hotter than the sun, Reverend, what is the diameter of the earth? 7,926 miles. So the center of the earth is half the diameter. 3,800 some odd miles. Well, hell, that's close. That's real close. Now, if the sun is 14,972 degrees hot, 93 million miles away, and on a hot summer day, you could fry an egg on the sidewalk. Yet hell is only 3,800 miles down with a fire hotter than the sun, and I don't feel nothing on my feet. Something is wrong with that picture. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us heaven and hell are not two places. They're two conditions of life. When you have what it takes to live the good life, when you have food, clothing, shelter, when you have knowledge, wisdom, understanding, when you have love, peace, and happiness, you have heaven while you live. But when you're hungry, naked, and out of doors, when you're ignorant, have no wisdom and no understanding, when you don't have love, you're filled with self-hatred, no peace, no real happiness, you are in a hell of a condition, and a white man's heaven has always been a black man's hell. Our people in New Orleans, our people in Louisiana, our people in Alabama, our people in Mississippi are in a hell of a condition. If you look at what I've been looking at, we know that that hurricane was at level 1 when it touched the southern coast of Florida. It moved out into the Gulf and built up from a 1 to a 2 to a 3. And then it stayed right in the center of the Gulf for a while. But the Weather Channel and other weather forecasters were saying it's headed for the Gulf Coast. We think it's headed for New Orleans. Then it became a category 4. They said now it's up over 150 miles an hour, and they talked about how wide it was, how powerful it was. They clocked the eye. Bush is eating cake and playing the guitar. Condoleezza Rice is shopping for shoes. Mr. Brown, the head of FEMA, which is a patronage job, he really loves horses, so he was out catching some horse manure. And I'm sure they stopped playing the guitar and eating cake and shopping for shoes long enough to check the TV to see, damn, this thing is getting pretty rough. Nobody was doing nothing. And when the hurricane struck, before it struck, it went to a category 5. And still, the government did nothing. After it struck, the president got on Air Force One and flew over it. And just as he was in the kindergarten in Florida, when 9/11 struck with the book upside down, And he froze. He froze again. Meanwhile, the levee was compromised. A levee that they knew needed structural help. A levee that, according to the news, they had been asking for a certain amount of money to build the levee, strengthen the levee, and raise the levee higher, but nobody could get 12 to 14 billion dollars for them to do that. Isn't that something? 12 to 14 billion dollars to raise the levee so that the city, in case of a hurricane level 4 or 5, could be spared. But isn't it interesting that they could not find 12 to 14 billion dollars for that, but found 340 billion for a war in Iraq? Now, I'm not a political scientist, and to the teachers of political science, it would seem to me that when that man put his hand on the Bible and raised his hand and swore to defend the Constitution and, of course, the citizens, but then he was so anxious to get control of the second largest oil reserve in the world, in Iraq, that he deliberately lied to the American people that that man over there had weapons of mass destruction. Now, I was in Iraq in 1991, 3 days before the bombs fell in Gulf War I. I was there. And I was talking to 750 ulama. Ulama in Islam are the scholars. And they were in Iraq, and they were talking about jihad. Jihad is an Arabic word that comes from an Arabic root, jahada, which means to strive hard against an object of disapproval. The real jihad is not external. The real jihad is when you strive hard to overcome some weakness of self that keeps self from being one with the Creator. But it's okay. I mean, they were talking about jihad. The old ulama was sitting down in front with these long beards. I was in the audience, and they had a break, and I went up to my hotel room, and my son-in-law said, "Minister, you got to say something." I said, "Look, man, I don't want to say nothing. These people are talking about blowing up American installations. And here I am from America. What can I say to these people? They're making mockery of the leader of Kuwait, talking about he had 100 and some odd wives, and he saw a pretty girl one day and was about to marry her to find out she was his daughter." And they were laughing and laughing. And so I got back downstairs, and they called on me to speak. cameras outside the door, you know, CNN. And I said, man. But in a few short words, I spoke for about 10 minutes. The old men that were sitting down front started to cry, because I told them a real external jihad is not for Saddam Hussein. It's for God. Right. And I said, yesterday's hypocrite is today's hero, and today's hero is yesterday's hypocrite. Saddam Hussein was laying in bed with the CIA, and when I said laying in bed, I don't mean literally. I mean that he was an agent of U.S. foreign policy objectives. And when Imam Khomeini, who was in exile in France, would send audio tapes back to Iran and stirred the people, and they rose up against the Shah of Iran, who was put in power by the CIA. Because the man that preceded him, Mohammed Mossadegh, nationalized the oil so that France and England couldn't get access to the oil except what they wished to sell them at their price, so that the oil that was under the foot of the Iranian people would belong to the Iranian people. The CIA didn't like that, so they organized a coup and overthrew that man. See, most Americans do not know the foreign policy of the government that is doing an awful lot of evil in our name. Now, I don't mean to frighten anyone, but I'm doing the talking, so you can just tell them you were in class and you didn't know what the teacher was going to say. And tell them that I'm shocked like you, but I was taking copious notes so you can get everything that he said. And in case you miss anything, go get the tape and give it to him. Look, it's time for you to stop being afraid of truth. It's time for you to understand what Jesus said. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. America has done some terrible things. I don't have time to run down the leaders that America had assassinated. Right. Now they say they don't do that anymore. Right. But Mr. Pat Robinson made a terrible mistake. He got a little confused, and he looked like he was from the hood. He said they ought to off that man. Now. And he's a big preacher, supposed to be full of the love of Jesus Christ. But when a man of color rises in Venezuela, from which 15 to 18% of America's oil comes from that country, and he rose from the ranks of the poor, and the poor love him, but the rich hate him. So America is not supposed to be involved in any coup against a democratically elected president. That man in a democratic election won.
That's right.
But America don't care nothing about that. We don't like the man's policies because he may start fooling around with that oil that we depending on. We got to get rid of that dude. So they organized a coup. They overthrew him. And the minute he was overthrown, dear Sister Condi Rice, she said, well, I guess he got what he deserved. It was his policies. But in the American states, they are not supposed to honor anybody that comes to power in a coup that is against a democratically elected head of state. But they were happy that he was gone. But unfortunately for them, he was only gone for a few days. Within 3 days, the poor people rose up and put him back in power. And then the American government had all this egg on their face. Well, he's a friend of Fidel.
Right. That's it. There you go. That's it.
Now, I've been to Cuba, and I've had long conversations with Brother Fidel. I call him brother.
That's right. That's right.
Because if there ever was a brother, he's a brother.
Come on, man.
Now, when he got Cuba in a revolution and threw out Batista, who made it an island paradise for criminals, and blacks who are 60 to 70% of the population of Cuba were playthings in the hands of the whites of America who would go to Cuba to have fun. But when Fidel took over and shot, killed all those who collaborated against the good of the Cuban people. And at the time that he took over, 90% of the Cuban people were illiterate. Today, Cuba is 100% literate. Guess what, y'all? Nobody in Cuba has to pay for education from kindergarten all the way through college. Guess what, y'all? Nobody in Cuba is denied access to health care, and they don't have to have any money. Guess what, y'all? He gives housing to the poor, and he took the land from the rich landowners who were white, and he gave it back to the peasants, to the people. So he's hated. Now, to segue just for a moment, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the three most hated men are: one, a rich man who gives away wealth to the poor. Well, why should a man be hated who is rich giving away money to the poor? Because he makes the other rich, who are the bloodsuckers of the poor, look bad. So he's hated by them, not by the poor. The next most hated person is one who is wise and teaches wisdom to the unlearned. Why is a wise man who's giving wisdom to the unlearned hated? because as long as the unlearned stay unlearned, that is the playground for the rich who are wise, who keep the ignorant ignorant so that they can continue to live in luxury. And the third most hated person is the one to whom the Holy Quran is revealed. Now, what is it about that book, Quran, that whoever that book is revealed to is the most hated, because he not only is rich and gives away riches to the poor, he's not only wise and teaches wisdom to the unlearned, he is the root of the overthrow of the world of the wicked. Now I'm coming to something. I'll come back to Katrina in a minute. Look, students, you are the best generation that we have ever had. You're different from your parents, as you should be. And sometimes, my dear parents, and I'm one, you don't understand your children. They're different. You know, they wear their pants, you know, hanging off their backside. They had these funny hairstyles, you know. And they ain't too cool with language. They have their own fashizel. They got their own language. And they got their own clothing styles. And they have their own way of expression. And some of us who are older, we forget that when we were young, we had our own hairstyles. I'm talking about a long time ago. We had our own style of clothing. We wore the peg pants, what they called the zoot suit. Y'all remember? Yes, sir. Then in the 70s, y'all had the big afros and platform shoes, and you had your own dance. Rap did not start as gangster rap. Rap started in the South Bronx in New York City with young black and brown brothers using the art form of the spoken word. In the beginning was, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. There's power and force in words. Words are powerful. Now, the rappers understood the art of communication with a new generation that teachers have lost the ability and parents have lost the ability to communicate with. There's a communication gap between parents and children. There's a communication gap between teachers and students. There's a communication gap between preacher and children. There's a communication gap between politicians and children. So the children ain't into your thing. Right. Your thing is politics. Get your vote, y'all. We gonna vote. Children say, vote for what? Vote for who? Here you are telling your children to vote. Vote for Kerry. And Don King said, no, vote for Bush. And the children say, well, I heard you say, Mama, that we voting for the lesser of two evils. So look, Mama, ain't there something good for me to vote for? I always got to vote for the lesser of two evils. And every time they get finished cutting up the pie, we get cut out.
The children see something. You say stay in school. They say we're dropping out. Well, what's wrong with what they're being fed that the children are dropping out of school? It's not that the children don't have the same curious mind of an intelligent human being, but hell, if you went to the restaurant hungry and they put some slop together and dropped it down in front of you, you would get up and walk out even though you were hungry. The crap that they're being fed, listen to me, ain't worth listening to. Do you know why, parents? You don't know why. If I took a picture of this front row Polaroid and developed it immediately and gave it to you, who would you look for first? Yeah, sister said me. Why? Because me is important. That piques your interest because you know if I took the picture of the front row, you in the picture. So you want to know, how did I look? Did I look all right? Did I smile all right? But it's the same in education. How can education be interesting to us and we are not in it? Right. Wait a minute now. We start in kindergarten. Dick and Jane. Who is Dick? Who is Jane? They ain't some Caucasians. Then there's Spot. Well, where am I in that picture? Oh, I must be the spot on Spot. Because that's the only black thing in that picture. Something wrong with this. Then every time you go, you're learning about white people, but nothing about yourself. How in the hell can that be interesting to us? I don't mind learning about white people after I learn about who I am. And since white people are not first, they came after us, then the education should reflect the father and mother of knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and civilization. You're going to teach me history. Where the hell am I in the history book? Don't run away from me now. Y'all getting scared and running out? Or did I send you to the bathroom? What? Go ahead, sir. Come on, dear apostle. See, and if you're afraid of what I'm saying, you don't like what I'm saying, yet you can't disprove what I'm saying, then something wrong with you. So I'm going to give you a checkup from the neck up, and we're going to see what's wrong with you. Yes, sir. Dr. Farrakhan in the house. Go ahead, minister. Go ahead. History class. History. Columbus discovered America in 1492. Millions of people already here. Well, he didn't discover it for the Native Americans. He discovered it for himself. You know why he's a new discoverer? Because he's a baby. He's new on the planet. Everywhere he went, he found somebody already there. He's not a native anywhere. He's not a Native American. He's not a Native African. He's not a Native Hawaiian. He's not a native Australian. He's not a native New Zealander. He's not even a native European. So you got all these black children in school. What are you teaching them? Well, I'm only teaching them what I was taught. That's the problem. Because you were taught not to be a critical thinker. You were trained to fit into the paradigm of Western education, which is to make you a slave and a servant of white supremacy. Farrakhan, don't you think, Farrakhan, you're being rather harsh with us? No, dear brothers and sisters. Look, man, Jesus said you can tell a tree by the fruit it bears. You can tell a man by his works. Now, you graduate with a BS degree. Probably so. What, did I say something wrong? Oh. Some of us graduating with a BA, an MA, an MS, a PhD, a doctor of law, a doctor of divinity, DD. Okay, Doc. No, I'm not being cruel. But what I want to challenge is, if you're the doctor, that means you got the discipline, the knowledge to heal in your field. Yes, sir. Right. You're a doctor of economics. But the economy going bad, Chief. What you gonna do about it? See, if all you can quote back to me is the stuff you read in a book. See, you got a doctorate in quotology, but not what? But not necessarily critical thinking. Listen to me. Critical thinking makes the critical thinker stand on the shoulder of the person they're reading and takes the discipline to another level closer to the absolute. There is nothing perfect except God and His truth. So every discipline, you should grow in it. But if you're not growing, if you're only quoting, if you can't advance sociology, advance psychology, advance economics, advance medicine, advance science, then you've been trained to get in where you fit in and don't make no trouble, lest we deny you tenure and put you out. And you know you don't want that because you're just a few paydays away from total mess up. Look, you can tell a tree by the fruit it bears. With all these degrees, now watch this. All these degrees now, we're the best learned black people anywhere to be found on the earth, the least productive. Something's wrong with that picture. Now you go in the black community, who's providing goods and services? It's the Arabs, the Koreans, the Chinese, and others. Oh, there's a black bookstore, and you don't go there. Oh, it's a black haberdashery, and you won't go there. Do you know why Greek restaurants are successful? Because all the Greeks buy together. They go downtown to the market, and when they buy lettuce, they don't pay what you pay. You go